Jason sat still, knuckles white around a single sheet of paper, listening to the courtroom breathe like a living thing. The paper looked harmless until you noticed the seal and the ribbon imprint, the kind designed to make doubt feel inappropriate. A diploma, supposedly Maya's, and Jason had spent the entire night staring at it, waiting for it to become true. But the registrar's reply was blunt. No record, no enrollment, no graduation, and the university address led to an empty lot. Across the room, Maya sat perfectly composed, beige suit, sharp, hair in a neat low bun, eyes calm like this was routine. When Jason glanced up, she offered a small smile, turned because it looked like confidence, not fear. Carla entered. Everyone rose, then sat, and the room settled into that tense quiet that feels like pressure on the ears. Ron stood near the rail, watchful and still, the kind of calm that makes you realize how fast emotions can get dangerous. Jason kept thinking one thought on repeat. If Maya wasn't licensed, who had been talking to desperate people under her company's name? Carla asked for opening statements, and Jason's attorney kept it clean and sharp. 300,000 invested, credentials claimed, money gone. They said this wasn't a risky bet that failed. It was a story built on fake proof, and the proof was now in Jason's hand. Maya's attorney countered that Maya built a platform, not a clinic, that business collapses happen, and regret isn't fraud. Jason felt heat rise because he wasn't angry about failure. He was angry that the truth had never been offered as an option. Carla called Jason to the stand, and he stood, swore, and sat, surprised his voice didn't break on the first sentence. He told the court he met Maya at a pitch night where she spoke about trauma care like she'd lived in those rooms for years. She used clinical language smoothly, described safety protocols, and answered questions like someone who didn't need to think first. Afterward, she thanked Jason for his question, said she appreciated investors who cared about ethics, and that line hooked him. 2 days later, they met for coffee, and Maya arrived early with a laptop open, asking Jason about values before money. She said she'd spent 8 years in behavioral health, burned out by the system, and wanted to build something kinder and faster. Jason said he believed her because she sounded like someone who had done the work, and because she looked him in the eye when she spoke. He described the pitch deck, projections, hiring plan, partnerships, and a slide titled Clinical Leadership with a diploma on it. Another slide listed a license number and the phrase licensed mental health practitioner, bold enough to stop a skeptical mind. Jason said he asked if everything was accurate, and Maya didn't hesitate. She said yes, like it was ridiculous to question her. He wired $75,000 first, and Maya sent updates, lease negotiations, onboarding calls, vendor contracts, progress every week. He wired the rest in stages, following milestones she described, each one framed as a step closer to helping real people. The office opened in a downtown suite, and when Jason visited, there were plants, a reception desk, and a waiting area with soft chairs. Maya introduced him to 2 providers on video calls. Jason remembered their faces, but Maya answered every question before they could. Then the cracks started. Refund requests, missed appointments, clients emailing Jason because the company email bounced or stayed silent. A mother wrote that her teen was promised a callback after a crisis intake and no one called, and Jason felt sick reading it. He forwarded complaints to Maya, and she replied with reassurance. Overwhelmed staff, new software, confidentiality limits, growing pains. Jason kept trusting because he wanted the mission to be real, and because admitting the truth felt like burning his own investment. Then one Monday, the office went dark. Lease terminated, voicemail generic, website in maintenance, social accounts suddenly quiet. Jason drove to the suite and found an empty room with 3 folding chairs and a cracked coffee machine, as if the place had been erased. He sat in his car staring up at the windows until his hands started shaking, realizing he didn't know where his money had gone. That night he opened the pitch deck again and read it like a confession, and this time the license number didn't look like proof, it looked like bait. He searched the license number and found it belonged to someone else, and the floor seemed to tilt under him. 3 months later, an anonymous email arrived. She used my license, with screenshots, dates, and the same number copied into Maya's materials. Jason verified the university on the diploma and learned it didn't exist, and that was the moment hope turned into something harder. In court, Jason handed over printed emails where Maya wrote, "As a licensed practitioner, I personally oversee every intake." Another email said, "I treat cases when staff are unavailable," and Jason asked how she could say she never claimed to be a clinician. Maya's attorney asked if Jason requested third-party verification before investing, and Jason admitted he didn't, voice tight with shame. He said he believed what was in writing, and he believed Maya's face when she said it, because people don't usually lie that comfortably. Carla asked about the diploma in Jason's hand, and Jason explained the anonymous email and how every check led to a dead end. Carla's eyes stayed steady, but her jaw tightened slightly, like she already knew where this was going. Maya was called and she walked to the stand in measured steps, swore, and sat with a calm that felt practiced. She said she was an entrepreneur expanding access to trauma support, not a clinician, and that Jason misunderstood the materials. She called the diploma a template, a mock-up from a designer to indicate the type of credentials they planned to recruit. Jason's attorney asked why the template used a real license number, and Maya said she didn't know that placeholders happen. Carla asked a direct question. Did Maya ever submit that number as her own on anything meant for investors or clients? Maya paused just long enough for everyone to notice, then said, I don't recall doing that personally, and the word personally hung in the air. Carla called the next witness, Darren, a former operations assistant who walked in nervous and avoided Maya's eyes at first. Darren testified Maya complained investors wanted a real clinician attached and that credibility was the only thing blocking funding. He said he watched Maya open the licensing registry and copy a number into the deck, and she told him it was temporary. Maya snapped that Darren was bitter and had been fired for misconduct, and Darren's face flushed, but he held his ground. Darren said he was fired after asking for payroll records and raising concerns about refunds, and the courtroom went very still. Jason's attorney called Ravi, a digital forensics analyst, who explained metadata in plain language, like he was dismantling a machine. Ravi said the pitch deck text blocks were copied from another document, and the file path referenced a folder labeled with a name not Maya's. Ravi read it slowly, draft Lena plan docs, and said the original author field contained Lena are still embedded in the file. Carla looked at Maya and asked if she knew Lena, and Maya said no, but her eyes flickered down too fast. Jason's attorney introduced Lena's written statement. She discovered her license number on Healspace's site after a colleague texted her a screenshot. Lena wrote she contacted Maya twice with no response, sent a cease and desist letter, and the number remained on the site anyway. Lena wrote she feared clients believed they were receiving care under her supervision, and Carla's expression turned colder. Carla said quietly that people in crisis rely on trust, and asked Maya if she understood that weight. Maya said she understood. Jason's attorney shifted to the money. Where did the $300,000 go? And Maya produced vague summaries: marketing, software, contractors. When asked for invoices, Maya said vendors were paid through apps and invoices were hard to retrieve, and Jason felt the old rage return. Jason's attorney pointed to a transfer labeled Maya Consulting and asked if Maya paid herself. Maya said it was reimbursement for work. Then they asked about a $48,000 withdrawal the week before the office closed. Maya said it covered refunds and contractor pay. Jason's attorney asked for proof of refunds. Maya couldn't provide it, and Carla leaned forward like the air had changed temperature. Carla asked if Maya ever provided counseling under Healspace, and Maya said she supported clients, calling it coaching, not therapy. Jason's attorney read an email where Maya wrote, I personally treated the client after the panic episode and asked if that was coaching. Maya swallowed and said she used the wrong word, that she was under pressure, and the excuse sounded smaller than the harm. Carla called a brief recess, and Jason stood at the back with shaking hands, watching Maya whisper to her attorney without looking at him. When court resumed, Carla asked why Maya chose trauma work, and Maya's eyes went glossy as she said she was tired of being invisible. Maya said people don't listen unless you sound like you belong, and she tried to belong, and for a second the room almost softened. Carla didn't soften. Carla said belonging is not a license, and the sentence landed like a gavel without a sound. Jason's attorney introduced an audio recording from the intake line where a caller asked if Maya was licensed, scared and searching for certainty. In the recording, Maya's voice said, Yes, I'm licensed, and I'll personally handle your case, then promised follow-up in 24 hours. Maya stared at the speaker as if it could betray her less if she didn't blink, and Carla asked if it was her voice. Maya said yes. Carla asked if Maya told the caller she was licensed, and Maya exhaled, then admitted yes again, smaller, defeated by her own words. Jason's attorney asked if Maya's materials were accurate when she promised they were, and Maya went silent long enough to hurt. Ron shifted his stance slightly, and that tiny movement made the room feel more real, like consequences had a body. Maya finally said she believed she would become what she claimed to be, that if she built it fast enough it would stop being a lie. Jason felt something hollow open in his chest, because she was describing a mindset, not a mistake, and he had funded that mindset. Closing arguments came fast. Jason's attorney described reliance, misrepresentation, vulnerable clients, and a pattern too deliberate to be accidental. Maya's attorney argued business risk and exaggerated damages, but even they sounded like they were trying to speak over a storm. Carla said this court is not an incubator and not a stage. It is a place where facts matter more than confidence. Carla said Maya represented herself as licensed, used a real license number belonging to Lena, copied materials without disclosure, and solicited money. Carla said Jason's lack of verification does not excuse deception, and the law does not reward charm when the foundation is false. Carla found Maya liable for civil fraud and ordered $312,000 in damages, including fees and costs, to make Jason whole. Carla added that Maya's conduct appeared to involve impersonation and potential consumer harm, and Carla referred the matter for criminal review. Maya sat very still as if she couldn't decide whether to collapse or pretend, and her calm mask finally looked like exhaustion. Jason stood, not feeling victorious, just emptied out, like someone walking out of a fire with smoke still in the lungs. Outside, sunlight felt harsh, and a reporter called his name, asking how it felt, and Jason chose the simplest truth. Jason said, "I didn't win. I just stopped losing," and kept walking because staying would only reopen what he'd barely survived. Ron guided Maya through a side exit, and Maya avoided the crowd, head down, shoulders rounded, smaller than the story she sold. Jason watched her disappear and thought about the voicemails from people in crisis, and how easily paperwork can silence doubt. He folded the fake diploma carefully, not to preserve it, but to remind himself that trust without proof is a gamble he won't take again. Carla returned to chambers and the docket moved on, but for Jason, the lie finally had an ending, and that ending was the first clean breath in months.